Well, welcome, y'all. Amber, I know you've been here. Paulize, Portugal is your first time with us. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing space and joining, taking time out of your day. This is the Trigger Warning Podcast, y'all.
We here. Well, we tell everybody to stay
Yes.
triggered.
Right. We feel that, like, through being triggered and having these uncomfortable conversations, that is how we heal and grow. That's where we see where we're not free. So, hence Trigger Warning Podcast. But we like to start off our episodes with, and I'm sorry if y'all hear my baby in the background or my nanny, excuse me.
You're
Um,
human.
we like to start off with our win, our lesson or trigger, and something that we do for self. So, who want to go first? Who got a win? Somebody. I know we got wins out here.
So you said start with a win, a lesson, and what you did for yourself.
Yes, a win and a lesson or trigger, and then yes, something that you did for self this week.
So for me, a win. So my business, the newest business that I just started, is doing phenomenal. Like I'm more busier than I thought I would be initially. So that is I'm actually
Mm-hmm.
in the process of taking something to New Massachusetts right now. So
Oh wow,
I've been booked and busy, so that's a blessing.
Right.
and
Um,
is.
indeed. The lesson I would say is for me, as far as this process goes, I've been learning to really release expectations because sometimes the way that things are perceived isn't necessarily the way things are in reality. So it's like one thing could look like it's not working or things are slow or things are just not happening, but really in reality, you're moving 1,000 miles an hour. Things are happening faster than you may realize. It's just it's taking time for the actual reality or for you to catch up to the reality that you've created. So um, that's been a lesson. And what was the lesson?
Your win.
Something you did for yourself.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Oh, something I did for myself. So, and this honestly, this is something that I do for myself pretty much frequently every day or every other day. So I went to the gym this morning, got a really good workout in, even though there was a part of me that just was like, I'm not really feeling it, or maybe today is just not the day. But I still persevered and I got out there and I did it. I had a really good workout. And that's something that I've truly prided myself on. It's like doing the things that you don't want to do when you don't feel like doing them because it increases your discipline. So that's something that I did for myself.
I love it. I love it. I mean, but the consistency, that's still a win. So
That
I
way.
love that.
It's a lot to go to the gym too. That's a mental thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Nah, for real.
It's been a couple months for me. Well, before that, I was going like 3, 4 times a week. But Paulize did a little bit for me. Um, you inspired me. Not enough to action yet, but it's inspiring.
I'm
Okay,
good.
I got some extra reps in for you.
Anybody
Let's
else?
see.
Anybody else have a win?
I don't know my win. I can't even hold you.
I had a mammogram done earlier this week because my doctor was saying that she felt fibrous cysts in my breast. So I had a mammogram done and I talked to my OBGYN today and she said that my results came back fine. There was
Yay.
there.
Okay, period.
Something I did for myself, I went to the gym today because like with this election and how it turned out, like I just felt really like mentally tired. because like, and I know this is bad for my mental health, but I was all on TikTok earlier. But the good thing about it was there was a whole lot of Black women on there speaking life into each other, because like we all collectively felt the same. Like my job, I work at the airport. So dealing with people with those MAGA people, like it just real deal mentally drains you. And so my shift is like from 3:30 a.m. until noon. So one of the very first passengers, it was this Black chick. And me and her, we looked at each other. And you know how like us Black women, we can kind of like talk to each other with our eyes. When I tell you we both had like a what the fuck moment, it was literally like, and like we just looking at each other like how the fuck this happened? And so it was that, I guess that was like another win, because like I was at work feeling real down and I was just ready for somebody to try me. But when I had that moment with her, it was like, okay, every Black woman probably it's probably feeling the same way. So I knew my feelings were valid. And what was the other part?
Do for self.
Yeah, I went to the gym today, so that's what I did for myself today, for me and my mental.
Your mental health is always number one. It's the atmosphere is heavy. The atmosphere was heavy before, like leading
Yeah,
up to the election, anyway. So
definitely.
it's gonna be a little thick around these parts for a while. Everybody just has to, I've been telling everybody stay off Facebook, stay off TikTok, because
Right.
baby, you be thinking you on social media, you on CNN 2.0.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
yeah, for sure. I don't, me personally, a win. I'm here to fight and live another day. What I did for myself. So a lot of people who know my story know, I have tried to commit suicide multiple times. So for myself, I went on the suicide walk for coming out of darkness. And I walked for not only myself, but me and my little cousins. And it was very inspiring to me because you've seen everybody out there, like so many people, even parents, cousins, other people who family members aren't here anymore.
Mhm.
So it's like, yo, you are still here. No matter your attempts, you're still here. So it is that's what I did for myself. In my lesson, girl, stop being loyal. Worry about you and your family, your circle, and you move. Sorry if y'all hear my son in the background. I don't know what he's doing down there. But yeah, that's mine. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. Portugal, did you have something?
Hi, everybody. It's wonderful to be here.
Mhm.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So, I forgot how you worded it. What was the questions? And then I can go through them again.
What's
Yeah.
your win, your lesson or trigger, and then something you did for self this week?
Okay. So my win is D kind of hit me so many angles. My win is my 18-year-old went through brain surgery unexpectedly on Sunday morning at 7. He's right here.
Mhm.
From here to here. He's walking, he's talking. Miraculous healing, no pain.
Mm.
Almost discharged. Drain tube out today.
Come on now.
Yeah. My discipline trigger, or what I need to release, is allowing, continuing to allow, continuing to understand that you know, just believing through each process, continuing to trust and be, and that was, you know, it's just hit us in so many angles in the past 2 years, but just allowing to just continue to trust and to be and know that um you know there's a higher, you know, there's a higher being in control of my life. So that's a major trigger for me because I'm moving in so many different ways, and sometimes things, like I say, like here, this is totally unexpected, he's completely healthy. But yeah, so that's a major trigger for me, and just still forgiving myself, I assume, for just transitioning my life in so many ways within the past 2 years, and things showing up differently from just being in a space of being in like corporate America and just considering myself safe and thinking that I had control over everything. And what I did for myself today was just allow myself to even like still here. We're still in the hospital now, but we just washed his hair, and I just, you know, that is some type of therapy for me sometimes, is retwisting him and my daughter's hair, or just allowing myself to be in that moment, to have that space of some sort of a different type of a meditation. But I also did a meditation today still, even while being here. And just continuing to allow me to be me and show up for me as I am and who I am in so many ways. So that's it.
I love that. You
That was
you
the
hit
whole
it on the
sermon.
head with the allowing yourself to be you. And it's a lot of people, we don't, as people, humans, period, a lot of us don't allow ourselves to feel either. And a lot of us do have a thing like where we have to feel like we're in control, because it's like once you don't have control, it's like the unexpected. We fear the unexpected. And sometimes what I have learned, and I am learning, is the unexpected could be one of the best things that ever happened to us. Like literally.
Amen, Ashe, all the things
It
to
could be the
that.
best thing. Like I'm learning to, along with you, to let go of control. And I'm learning to let myself feel. Stop saying everything is okay. Like if you're angry or mad or sad about something, stop saying it's okay. Cause we're at the end of the day really I don't want to say pacifying someone else's feelings, but that's really what it is. Like we're making them feel better, and on the inside we're breaking, but that's not doing anything for our spirit or our temple. We got to release that. Okay? That's what we're here for today. You have to release all of that. But I love it, and I'm so glad that your son is healing and doing well. It hasn't even been 7 days. Some people do not get that drain tube out that fast and no pain. Baby, please. Mm-mm. I'll be the main one. Like, give it to me through the IV, baby. Like, for real. So that's a blessing.
Yeah,
All in this.
it's beautiful. I agree. For me, my win this week was, dang, I didn't even, usually I have it already. What is my win this week? I slowed down. I slowed down, which I try to live my life very intentional, but I'm in a season of growing, and the seeds, like the things that I had been praying for. I know me and you, probably had talked about this on our other platform and everything, but like I am reaping, what I've been asking for. And so it has been just, I mean, alignment, but it's been a lot happening. Um, but this week, and I had my sister in town, and that's been beautiful, but just kind of slowing down and like having to tell myself it doesn't have to get done today, like it's okay. Because we be having lists of things, daily. So this week I kind of let a few things, postpone some things, move some things around, and I'm really proud of that. So um a lesson or trigger that I had this week, it was listening to my body. Because I started having like now y'all know, I was in the army and everything, so I have, the be back in. But I was starting to notice like some things that had been coming up for me, like, and I was feeling it in my body. Y'all know the energy gets stuck, right? So I was starting to have like back pain, and that was like I had to kind of check myself because I found myself kind of still pushing through, that mindset, that grind and
Mm-hmm.
hustle and just that real masculine energy, like it don't matter what's happening, I gotta still do, right? Like, because I got all the things. And that was, again, I mean, it kind of ties to the win because I did intentionally have to slow down, but it took the trigger, which was feeling it in my body because I wasn't feeling that before. Like, things have been pretty relaxed. We've been flowing. Like, we have not been resisting the energy. Like, stuff happened, and we like, okay, like it's already worked out. Not in this reality, but it's already worked out. And yeah, it took kind of my body hurting for me to get the win, which was slowing down. But that was the trigger. And do for self. Um, well, it's been a while, but I did get my nails done, so I'm happy for that because we've been focusing on
Period.
other things. So, uh, because y'all know I like your girl's number one like core value is personal development and growth. So, to the dismay of my financial coach, because we've been paying things off, I just invested in another coaching program. So I got a whole earful full of that. But I said, you know what? We're gonna get these nails done though. We're gonna fit it in.
Baby, send me your
So
financial coach. I'm just,
I'll send you the
I'm
details because she's
my
amazing.
name. I think I spend money like my name is Griselda Blanca. Okay. As
Listen,
soon as I
she's
feel,
amazing.
Same here.
yeah, as soon as I feel some type of way, I'm on Amazon. I'm on Wayfair.
Hmm.
Girl,
Oh
you
yeah.
don't need
Amazon
it.
was my best friend. But she like, and I'm telling you, she'll tell you like one thing I had to laugh because she was like, who are you, whose calls are you ignoring? And I was like, first of all, I feel attacked.
Right.
Like slow down. Let's ease into this relationship. But she don't play no games. Like I'm talking about down to the dollars. But within this is my second or third month. No, third month working with her. But I'm telling you, like I will send you the information. Like I feel, I mean, because it's crazy that the energy of money, right? Like, but releasing a lot of those like limiting beliefs around money and um also like working through like why we spend the way we spend and not being cognizant of it. Like once we got through a couple months, like I'm starting to see like I just feel lighter.
Hmm.
Because I don't know about y'all, but like money was a wound, like a core wound of mine. Listen, and I'm talking about when I would look like I wouldn't want to look at my bank account, but when I did, it just affected my whole day. Like it
Mm.
affected, how I talk to people. Like I don't look at me. I don't want it. I don't. But she completely shifted that for me.
Good. Oh,
Well, send us all the details because I
Yes,
spend money like I'm just Rihanna over here.
not Rihanna.
Rihanna.
real bad.
I love it. I love it. But
Shein.
yeah,
Shein is my best friend.
yeah. So I certainly thank y'all for sharing that. Let's get into it. What you guys are releasing. Um, what comes up for y'all? Like without getting into what you're releasing, but why is it important to release things, whether it's beliefs or behaviors or people, environments, like whatever it is? Why do you feel that it's important for you?
So I can keep growing and not be stagnant. I notice when I don't release things, it's like I'm in that same place, you know? it's like I'm not ever moving forward. I'm not moving backwards, but I'm not moving forward. So I'm just right there. And it's like, you doing the work. So you say, because it seems like you're doing it, but if you're not releasing it, it's pointless to me. That's my opinion, because literally I don't move or go anywhere. But as soon as I release it, and when I say release it, I mean say it, write it, and then really let it go. Because sometimes we say we releasing something and we still be thinking about it. We still be talking about it. You ain't released not a thing if you keep talking about it. It's still there. That's my opinion.
I agree.
So for me, when I hear the word release, for me, I think about going through. And what I mean by that is like the phrase that comes to mind is if you don't feel it, you can't heal it. Right. And I feel like when it comes to releasing, sometimes we can mistake releasing as suppression. And sometimes we can suppress certain feelings that we're feeling for a temporary, for a temporary time until it comes back up, and then we're just repeating the same cycle over and over again. But I feel like if you actually go through it, like actually go through the feeling that you're feeling, using the tools that you've equipped yourself with, rather than being through coaching or meditation or whatever degree of teaching that you're getting, I feel like we'll just continue to feel it over and over again. So I think, yeah, going through it really helps, because I don't think it's something that actually ever really leaves you, like the feelings that we feel. But I think that we just become stronger, and then we overcome those things at a faster rate, because in the beginning, when you feel whatever you're feeling, it feels like it lasts forever. Like if it's depression or anxiety or whatever the case is, it feels like it never goes away. But once you overcome it the first time and you feel it again, you overcome it quicker than you did the first time. And I feel like that process of going through it over and over and over again makes you more resilient. So that way, whenever a feeling comes up, you can recognize it and know immediately how to counteract that feeling or manage that feeling, that emotion. So to me, that's what releasing brings. It brings me.
I love that.
Yeah. I like that way. I like how you said.
Portugal, were you about to say something?
So yeah, I was gonna say for me, it's just allowing, something new to come in, whatever I ask for, like you say. So just releasing it, because if there's something in the way, then there's no way that something else can come in, because the spaces are packed. So that's what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, and I mean, to what Paula's was saying, yeah, I mean, some people, I feel like, and some people was me before too, would like say, just like you said, that yeah, I'm letting this go. It's not my problem. I'm gonna let God handle it, right? Whatever, whatever you may subscribe to. But it would be emotionally bypassing really what we need to actually feel to heal, just like Paula said. And yeah, I agree. We don't necessarily, like, it doesn't just go away per se, but if we actually do the work to heal the emotional content of whatever it is, whether it's, relationships or situations or, from certain environments, whatever the case may be, traumas, when we heal it and we process the emotional content of it, the energy gets lighter, towards the situation. Like, it doesn't hit us, it doesn't land the same way, but we'll still have feelings towards it, but it just may not be as strong. Or it may be a completely different feeling, you never know. But we still do need to actually feel it and then release it so that we can make space for the abundance that is our birthright for whatever is meant to come. I always tell people, like, I mean, if you follow me on social media, you probably heard me use the metaphor about the landing strip. You know, when you're in your seat on the plane, they take you to where they're about to, the runway, but they don't just immediately take off. They have to wait for it to be clear. And it's the same for when the plane lands. You have to make space. And the only way to do that is to release. We can't hold on to things and be talking about we trying to, oh, I want my husband, but I'm holding on to this situationship. Like we can't. It's not that it's impossible because sometimes things happen, but it's usually for a lesson. But for the most part, most of the time, we can't have both. So we have to release in order to make space so we can take off, or for that abundance to land. You got too much shit on your landing strip. So it's so important for us to actually release and not do the physical, like, I'm for my church goers. I'm not, but I hear that the most with people is like, God got it. And I'm like, but faith without works is dead too.
Dead.
So let's talk about that. Like we can't just, oh, I'm waiting on God's gonna handle it. But what are you doing? Are you working on your mindset? Are you working on, are you removing yourself from toxic situations? Are you ending toxic behaviors? Like
Period.
we have to take a level of accountability in our reality.
Accountability is something I notice a lot of people really just say. It's a word that they use very often, but have no clue exactly what it means. So just like a lot of people use the same thing, everybody grown until it's time to have a grown conversation. You get what I'm saying? So me taking accountability when doing your releasing is, listen, what part did you play in something?
Mm.
On top of what part did you play, how can you fix it or not do it again? Along with that, like you just said, removing yourself from toxic situations. Quote, I can say this. I've noticed some people love toxicity because that's all they know. So when they get to the point of, I always say, at one point I was at a place so peaceful, it scared me. Like, yo, why is everything so calm?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not used to this. So I would try to find something to give me a little razzle dazzle. But now I'm to that point, it's like, I want to be scared of my peace. Yeah. I want to be scared of my peace. And taking accountability. I'm removing myself from multiple toxic things. And not even that, I'm taking accountability for it. Like, all right, what role did you play? What can you do to no longer be there? And how would you feel if that was you? You know what I'm saying? So you have to take on all counts. And I just want people to stop using the word accountability and not knowing what it is. And then actually I have been in like this spiritual warfare for like the last since April. A lot was going on. And I just had to take accountability there and tell myself, no, girl, that was your fault. You let your guard down at one point and you accepted so much that you should not have accepted. But what part of you accepted it and why? And that's when that shadow work came in and it was like, girl, ew. Like, ew. You went back to that part of you. But then when I said that, it went back to a let's heal that child inside of you that felt that they had to accept that. Then I was able to release it. I'm actually releasing right now because me saying that is still bringing back the stuff in my head that I'm going through now. It's like, you have to release. And as Portugal said too, you got to release to move forward. We have to. And not even, I hate politics, not gonna lie, keep it a band. But even though we're in the state that we're in now and the situation from that, I'm needing a whole bunch of releases to happen for people because more than anything right now, we're gonna need the community of people together. And our community, unfortunately, act like we can't come together as one. And it's going to take some releasing and deprogramming, honestly, on the things that we were taught. If the school taught it to you, I want people sometimes to even realize you have to deprogram your mind from what America has taught you to believe.
Right. And I totally agree with that, because when I tell you my HBCU experience really did like a whole 360 on me, because it real deal undid 12 years of bouncing from the city school in Mississippi, Tupelo public school system, to Lee County school system, and then moving to Alabama and having to experience like real life racism. Like, they talk about Mississippi being racist, Alabama is worse. When I was in Mississippi, I never ran into the Klan. Never. When I moved here to Alabama, my first 2 months of living here, there was a Klan rally on the courthouse steps.
Oh, wow.
And when I tell you, I looked at my mom and I'm like, who are these people? She said, Amber, let's go. And I'm like, who are they? And she was like, Amber, that's the Klan. I'm like, not the Ku Klux Klan.
Who that's for?
What is that? And like, when I tell you, it was just mind blowing, because I'm like, most of these people got mixed race kids. And most of their kids I went to high school with, and they was giving a Bart 3000 to all the dudes. But but I digress. But going to an HBCU, granted, it wasn't the HBCU that I wanted to go to, but it real deal undid 12 years of learning whitewashed history. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely agree with that. Because, yeah, never would have known. I never really would have gotten to study like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King real deeply had I went to a PWI.
I just feel like we're going to have to, it's the reason I'm saying a release, it's definitely going to be a full release. And I do feel a lot of people will be moving forward. And I feel too like our community needs to have something where it can be like a national release day or something, because so many people hold on to so much. But you know what's funny? I asked somebody like, well, how do you let go of that pain? Why do you let go of that tension? I don't. Yeah, that's why you sitting here with your shoulders tense and always hurting, because you don't let go. Your endorphins ain't moving or nothing.
I would say, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
So, the thing that comes to mind as everybody's speaking is accountability is essentially just your ability to respond, right? And I feel like a lot of people are more reactionary than actually responsive. And part of that is because there isn't really a solid foundation in understanding like an individual's emotion, like knowledge of self, understanding, right? And to the point what Alicia was saying, when people were saying things like, Kalisha, to the point she was saying, when people say like, let God handle it, right? There's a quote by Reverend Ike, and he says that, God is not a big man in the sky, but God is the real man in me. And God is the presence and power within me right now. So a lot of us need to be those gods and have gods and goddesses and really have an accountability of our own faculties in order for us to really truly create an impact and a change and create this community that we're all talking about right now. Because right now, everybody has an individualistic standpoint on where they are in life. And this is why we're so divided. And I feel like it was important, this presidential election, because it's really shedding light on us as a people and the accountability and the responsibility that we need in order for us as a community to move forward, because we all had our hopes on a certain presidential candidate, but now we're in this predicament now where we kind of have to work with each other. And it's always been that way, but I feel like now it's more apparent now more than ever. But in order for us to really start working together and start to build the communities and have these safe havens and these safe spaces for us, we need to have accountability within ourselves, meaning that we need to understand how to respond rather than react, because we've been so reactionary for so long, which is ironic, you know, because everything triggers us, that we don't look at it for what it is, but we look at it for how it makes us feel. So we're not really reacting. We're not really responding. We're more so reacting. So really, we really need more like responsive solutions in order for us to be in the positions that we desire for not only ourselves, but for our communities to be in.
Yeah.
I was
And
definitely
I'm
reactionary for
not
a very long
even
time.
I'm not even a political person, you know, but this campaign definitely brought up a lot. And yeah, I mean, I agree. One thing somebody actually said to me today at work, they were saying, um, even though of course there's a lot of people not happy that Trump is, you know, has the most votes or whatever right now, it's actually like the last time he was in office was when so many people in our community banded together. And it hasn't been like that since the last time he was in office. A lot of times when, look, I don't even know, is he a Republican, Democrat? I don't know. But when the other
So
party, like I said, I'm not political, y'all. But when the other party was in office, a lot of people got comfortable. So him being in office, it's probably going to bring a lot of the people out the woodworks that want to like actually use their voice and you know start trying to you know take action for change. But yeah, when I think of accountability, actually before I even get into that, so what I wanted to do, and I know Alize, you're driving, so you can just kind of meditate on it. But I wanted to take 5 to 6 minutes for everyone to get a piece of paper, and I want us to journal. And I want us to actually write what we want to release. And I'm going to put it in the chat. Hold on. So if you can get a piece of paper or use your phone, your notes, if you need to get off camera to do that, do so. However you can, whatever comes up for you. There's no right or wrong here. I want you to think about what thoughts or behaviors or patterns, relationships or environments are you ready to release? And then just kind of, you know, write whatever comes up for you, why, you know, if it's affected you mentally, physically, emotionally, whatever the thing is, just free write for the next 5 minutes, okay? Um, like I said, use whatever means you have. And I put that in the chat.
turn some music on, sis, while we write, please.
Oh, I got you. I got you.
Can I add something to that? Is
Yeah.
that possible? So
Yeah.
on top of releasing, can we add something to replace too with the thing that we're releasing?
Oh yeah, hey, if you want
Go
to start there, because
ahead.
I was only gonna give y'all 5 minutes, so I figured
Let's make
we
it
would do
about
that
8
later.
minutes.
But
Because this that plays into,
yeah,
I know as a person who had like weight loss surgery, so you know I can't eat, right? But they call it a transfer addiction. So instead of me eating, I now like buy all these Stanley cups to like transfer my dish. So that's just like that. It's a replacing what we have to release. I
yeah.
like that. Okay, let me get the right. Thank you, Pause.
Okay. Of course, we know everything ain't gotta be perfect. We ain't gotta have everything written down, but this is really just a guide for us right now. So let's bring it back to the present real quick. How was that for y'all?
That was good.
Eye opening.
You said what? I
I
heard it was
said eye
good.
opening.
Oh, okay. Okay. Were you guys surprised by what you wrote down?
A little bit, a little bit.
Yeah, a lot. Some of the stuff I wrote, I don't think I ever would have wrote that out if I was in a different
Mm,
space.
that's powerful. Okay. So, who wants to share? Of course, you don't have to. What came up for you
I'll
on
share.
what you need to release?
I'll share. What thoughts, behaviors, patterns, or relationships or environments I would like to release is toxic situationships with men, unhealthy relationships with family members, stressful and unhealthy thoughts, saying yes to everything, feeling guilty about saying no, overthinking everything, trying to win every battle, i.e., trying to speak up in situations that I'm not involved in, stressing over situations and people you can't change, using my body as a tool, thinking everybody is cool, thinking everybody has your best interest at heart, and thinking everybody likes you.
Hmm. Well, how did that make you feel when you released that, though?
I feel like it's gonna give me like a blank slate to really go back to like how I was before, like all these things, and it'll be a blank slate. That way, I can really figure out what Amber likes.
Mm. So you feel like a lot of the things that you wrote down, was that because of almost like expectations or
Mm-hmm. Because like especially with like saying yes to everything, that stems from like growing up in a single parent household. Like when my mom was at work, I was the one that was dealing with my brother. So it was like I said yes to everything she said that she needed from me, and yes to him, but also feeling guilty when I had to say no. Because when I said no, my brother would run to my mom and be like, blah, 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 blah. And then she would say yes. And I would be like, well, then how about you stay at home and not work and you deal with him and let me go be a kid?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and that's another thing. Need to forgive my mom for not letting me be a kid. I had to be an adult. Super.
Mm.
So
mm,
That's a heavy one. That
if-
right there is a
yeah.
heavy one.
So what is that? I mean, obviously you have a list of things, but how does some of that show up for you daily? Like as far as like do you feel like you see it like emotionally, mentally,
definitely,
physically?
definitely, because like I feel like in my behaviors, like I be trying to go back to that time where I didn't have to make adult decisions while being a child. Like
Mm,
I see in like some of my friendships, like I just want everybody to like me type of thing. And one of my other friends, she pointed out that I have like a childlike mentality when it comes to friends. Like I let everything slide and I don't create boundaries.
Mm.
mm,
So, and that kind of stuck with me because in two friendships that I released earlier this year, I definitely let a lot slide and I didn't create boundaries. So that's one thing going into 2025 that I'm gonna start doing is creating boundaries. And if you cross them boundaries, I'll give you a warning. But if you do it again, then I cut you off.
yeah,
Can I
that's
ask,
powerful.
can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
With all the things that you listed that you're releasing, what are some things that you can replace the things that you release with?
With some of them, with majority of it is like not treating my body as a temple. I'm gonna start doing that, and that's why I've been going to the gym 6 days a week. I'm eating healthier, not drinking as much. Um, Creating boundaries with friends. Like I give the same energy that I receive. You know what I'm saying? I try, like, I've stopped overthinking situations. Like, I just kind of go with the flow now.
So you're replacing the what was it? The toxic relationship with men and situationships, sorry. And
Mhm.
with finally treating your body like the temple, knowing
Right.
you are like the prize and you know that, whoever. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, essentially, can't nobody treat you worse than you treat you.
Right.
So that's beautiful that you're starting, because I mean, of course, working out, I mean, it's for everything really, physically, mentally, emotionally. But when you feel better on the inside and you start treating yourself better, can't, you gonna stop allowing things that you once were doing. So that's beautiful to be in that space. Um, so I love that. Thank you for
Right.
sharing.
Look, that's why I'm in the house all the time.
Hey, we do what we gotta do.
Right.
Do what works. Do what works. Anybody else?
I'll,
Mine just releasing the toxic friendships. Honest. A lot of and stop like I said earlier, releasing, pacifying everybody else's feelings and putting mine aside. And what I'm gonna replace that with is, hey, I just gotta start opening my throat chakra and not being not just off reaction, but actually displaying and stating my feelings without being reactionary. Because before, as we all know, I was very reactionary to everything, and everything doesn't even deserve your reactions. You just live, you learn, you move on.
Yeah. Did you notice how that, like, what makes you want to release that? Do you notice something within yourself, like how it shows up for you that you like just don't align with anymore, or you didn't like?
I don't like I will say my son has brought a lot of stuff to my forefront of knowing how, but certain situations that's been going on recently has literally showed me like I have really been in different situations that I shouldn't have been in, all because of my quote unquote loyalty. And it showed up in hurt because you realize the person or people that you are protecting, quote unquote, are not doing the same for you. It's one sided. So yeah.
Or what are you gonna replace that with?
Boundaries, for real, for real. Focusing more on my home, like what's going on in my home and that, instead of worried about everyone else and how they, navigate, or how the world sees them. Worry about how the world, not even, I ain't worried about the world, how the world see me, but worry about me. Worry about yourself. Heal thyself. Be there for thyself. I'm good at telling people that, but I don't never do it.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you. Jose, were you saying something?
Uh, yeah, I'll share mine too. So what I'm releasing releasing a few things. So I'm releasing the spirit of doubt and the spirit of fear, and the spirit of overthinking, and just to name a few. It kind of bundles a lot of everything else that I'm releasing with that. And I'm replacing it with, did I say fear? Yeah, fear as well. And replacing it with more courage and more understanding, right? Because I feel like fear comes from a lack of understanding, not just of others, but just a lack of understanding itself. So that's one. Spirit of doubt, I'll replace that with really action, and facing everything with a level of boldness, because I feel like most of the times doubt just comes from not knowing the outcome, right? And that kind of creates like a paralysis. So really just stepping into radical action, just moving with, even if there is some doubt in the movement, still just taking that action, because I know that the doubt will be replaced with, see, I knew you could do it, right? Because that's what I hear every time I face something that I find challenging. It's like, see, I knew you could do it. You just had to do it, right? So those things, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, me. I appreciate y'all for this space. And for me, I'm releasing neglect. I wrote that I am releasing the control of being responsible as a parent that has always been overly achieving because of the neglect that I felt and that I had as a child, and allowed myself to go through within my early adult life, allowing myself to know that my children are their individual selves and have control of what happens in their lives as the beings of light that they are. And although we are connected in so many ways, I allow, one another the opportunity of acceptance for ourselves. Me as a mom, I have to let go of the responsibility of guilt or shame or feeling as if I chose to release the fear of letting go to allow the opportunity to be the new me, of the me who I am now. But because of it being actually scary to have to primarily deal with myself instead of feeling fulfilled because of the mother and nurturer that I am naturally. And that's about it. It's a way of it's a way of safe loving, like a safe loving space, because they're my children. So that was easy for me to love. That was always that's easy. That they always came first. Because I didn't come first at some point in life. So what I'm replacing it is just allowing me to reintroduce myself to me, and allowing me to have the desires that I really would like fulfilled, as if it's something that I deserve, rather than something that I have to incorporate because I want my children to experience it, or because, like I said, with even my son's surgery, just allowing just the opportunity to sit in a space and be like, okay, ultimately it's up to him if he comes out of the recovery, or it's up to him if, it's his life. So I really don't have control over that. So just like we were saying before with accountability for self. So that's about it. So it's really scary. But I look forward to stepping into that space.
I love that.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Me too.
Yeah. What I want to release, and this is because I feel like I really need to let go of, because even though I feel like I'm in a completely different space in my life from when I was really having a lot of like maladaptive behaviors, right? Like things that just engaging in a lot of things that didn't serve me. Um, Despite all the work that I've done, I recently realized there's still a part of me that identifies with that girl. And so what I want to let go of is anger. And I also want to let go of regret. One, because I feel like, I guess this is an episode, I'm gonna cry, y'all. Um, a little Kalisha, little Kiki, if you will, she did a lot of things that felt good in the moment, but usually right after the act or later down the road, it made her deeply hate herself. I've done things that I put myself in danger. I put my daughter in danger before, not intentionally, but um, whether it had to do with drinking or, like, yeah, like definitely situationships with men. I lived a lot of years where I was not getting my needs met, and I felt like it was the responsibility of other people to meet those needs. And that really, again, it caused me to really not like myself. I hated myself for some time. And I have, like D, you know, um, tried to, had thoughts of suicide and trying to take action with it. And so now, like, I really feel for that girl, but now I realize it's time to let her go because we're not there anymore. Like we're living a life of abundance and peace and everything is in alignment now, but we don't have to, like, we can let that version of ourselves go because it doesn't serve us anymore. And I feel like it's holding me back from even greater things that are literally knocking on my door. But there's a part of me that, because I identify with those that previous version of Kiki, that feels like she doesn't deserve these things. And I feel like that's been kind of a theme of my life. And so I'm ready to release that and allow and really resist. And especially for me, like in the past year or two, getting into the space of calling myself a coach, there was a lot of like back and forth with it because it's like, girl, who are you? Like, who do you think you are? You know, but it doesn't serve me anymore. Because if anything, how my life is set up right now literally is it shows me that I'm exactly where I need to be, doing exactly what I need to be doing. So it's time to let the version go that feels like she doesn't deserve, that feels like she needs external validation, that feels like it's someone else's responsibility to make her feel good, to feel like she needs all these external things to fill herself up. And I'm replacing that with forgiveness. I'm replacing it with grace. And in doing that, I'm doing even the small things, showing up for myself, and in conversations where I feel like, no, I don't feel like listening to this person vent, even though this is my best friend of 15 years, saying, hey, I don't have the capacity for this right now. For me to say, like, hey, this man might be fine and he might be a nice guy, but we know if we just have sexual relations with this man right now, why are we doing this? We don't need this right now. So I'm bringing in awareness and intention of why I'm doing things. So I don't go back and repeat the same patterns and behaviors and thoughts that no longer serve me. And I'm really gonna like lean into the spirit of love, of self, and who I've become. And even though, yes, I've done things, I'm not her anymore. And really just embracing that. Thank y'all for listening.
That was deep, but that's real.
That was
That's
Look,
deep.
and I only wrote a few, I only worded, like the words that I said was not exactly what I wrote down, but it was meant to be.
Whatever meant to come out came out.
that was powerful. That was really powerful.
Very, very powerful. Because we've all done some things that we're not proud of that we just did because it was in the moment. And there has been some things that have happened to us that we still haven't forgiven ourselves for. You know, like when I was a kid, I was molested by my mom's best friend's daughter. So it's kind of like, what did I do to deserve that? You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing I'm definitely working through. Um, Even though my big 35-year-old self is still working through that, because that situation really set into motion how I deal with people. Like, people are a tool for me to use at my disposal, and I shouldn't be going like that. Especially men. Like, I don't know.
That's deep to even say. I had this conversation with someone the other day, and I was telling them like most people who have been a sexual assault victims or whatever, they are hypersexual for one. Of course, because heck, you that's what you knew off gate for real, for real. And a lot of us, because I can add myself into there, have not fully healed from that. So you either are hypersexual and you just use people for just that. And at times, if you are, I don't want to say crashing out, but saying that for sure, that's what you're going to do. You're just going to use them for that sexual healing. And I tell people all the time, when you're doing that, using protection or not, you're gathering somebody else's energy because they're coming to you. But healing through it is not an easy process. It don't matter if you big 45, big 65. It still can haunt you. It don't matter how many times you try to release it. There's something that happened to you. It made you who you are. But that don't mean you have to. It's what happened to you, but it's not who you are.
Right.
You are not of that. But it's nothing. It's not something that you just be like, all right, I'm releasing it. I'm getting over it. No, please. So I'm even proud of you for even mentioning that, saying that. Because sometimes it's hard at times to even talk about it. So
Yeah, because I haven't even talked with my mama about it. And for me, like, I feel like now if I tell her and the way she feels about me, like, she would beat old girl up. But you know what? And I hate to say this, but unfortunately, karma rears its ugly head, and sometimes it rears its head and it won't hit that person, but it'll hit a person around that person that did the sexual assault, because she did that to me, and like her nephew did that same thing to her daughter. So it's kind of like, I don't want to say aha, because that's a very traumatic situation. Like, could you imagine at a young age having your first orgasm like that? Like, it's weird. But it's kind of like what goes around comes around. And I don't think it's talked about a whole lot within our community because we all have them weird uncles, aunts, cousins, friends of the family and stuff like that. I definitely, and I know it's kind of off subject, but it definitely needs to be talked about more.
Yeah. And I know we mentioned it on the previous, I think in the episode on sex and relationships on the podcast a couple episodes ago. Um, we talked about it, and there's some survivors of sexual assault, molestation, and things, but we talked about how it's so important to break that like pattern of telling our kids like, oh, go hug your uncle, or like, oh, you ain't gonna give somebody a hug, or like those type of comments, because we don't want to set the precedent that you have to ignore what your body is telling you. You have to ignore your boundaries, like forcing our kids to do things like that, because that has a lasting impact. I mean, and this is not even with like actually saying that like something actually occurs, but just the spirit, the energy of it. We want to cut that off. We don't want that to pass down to the next generation. We want them to feel like, and I tell, I remember a time when I'd asked my daughter for a hug, and she was going through stuff, and she just was like, I don't want to. Now, mind you, it still did hurt my feelings. 'But I didn't force her. I'm not going to force you to do something like that you don't want to do, you know? So we have to get out of that energy, the spirit of that, yeah, just forcing things. But it impacts so many things. When traumas happen to us, when crises happen, mentally, emotionally, physically, it shows up in our behaviors and our patterns. As we can see, like as a lot of us talked about, a lot of this stuff was from our childhood. And we still carrying baggage.
Yep.
It's still showing up daily for us as reminders. And it's really honestly just putting limitations on our lives. And it's not allowing the space of new things and transformations and you know um even more resources, like things that can really help us into our next phase of our life, of our healing journey, because we're holding on to these things. But I also want to make it note too is that when we actually start to release things, because I know it sounds good for a lot of people, and I've seen this with clients, is they think like, okay, I've done therapy, I've talked about it with my coach and all the things, and I'm ready to release. And they've identified what they're replacing it with, but then they think that's it. They think that like, okay, like I'm ready. Like, where's the like ready? Where's my abundance, right? But most of the time, that's not how it happens. A lot of times, when we set the intention that we are going to release something, even if we identify again what we want to replace with it, it's going to be some discomfort. It's going to be a lot of, honestly, your life going to probably feel like it's falling apart for a minute, because a lot of the things that we actually need to release are parts of what we have embedded into our identities, into our lifestyles, like whether it's people that we've kept around, or relationships, or whatever the case may be. Saying yes to people all the time, like that shows up daily. So you can't expect, just because, yeah, I said I want to let it go, and I said, okay, I know what I'm going to replace it with. Like, I'm going to be more intentional, I'm going to have boundaries. Life is still going to fucking life. And it's most of the time when a transformation is about to happen, it's in that moment. That's when the shit is going, that's when the boat going to fucking rock. Okay? Like we thought life was life and before. But when we say we actually trying to do better, it's something in the energy that it attracts even more thunder and lightning.
Facts.
So I just want us to like really be aware of that too and show ourselves grace in this journey, because now that we've said, people have shared things that you might not have shared with other people ever, or, even brought into our own awareness. But I want you to just be aware moving forward that when shit happen, that's not the time for you to be like, woe is me, damn, this shit is happening. See, you know, if I just did the same thing that I used to do, I wouldn't be. No, it's not the time to revert. That's the time where we need to be even more intentional, more grounded, because the abundance is literally right there waiting for us. It's just not a smooth landing. But it's exactly what we need, because a lot of times the thing that we're wanting, the goals that we have, that we're picturing, it's going to take that rocky landing for us to actually be ready for it. We be asking for shit, praying for shit, manifesting shit we ain't ready for. So yeah, I may know that I need to let go of how I dealt with men, using my body as a tool. In my mind, I'm no longer being a victim, right? So let me have sex with all the men and do all the things because now I'm in control. But how am I gonna be when a man that's actually ready to, like, that's emotionally intelligent and grounded, and like we not doing that? How am I gonna be when that shows up for me in my life? And I think that is something that we need to like really be intentional about too, is like trying to get to that space to be ready for what we're asking for. We know all about what we want to let go. You know, we done been in that energy so long. We know about that. But how are you gonna show up for you when you ready to quit, and you just like, fuck this shit? Because I don't know how many times I done said that. Like, sorry, ancestors. Listen, I don't have it. I'm not like I'm done breaking the patterns. I've quit. I don't want this. How are you
And
gonna show up for you in those moments? And when
now,
your brain and your body and your emotions and everything is telling you to do what you're used to, even though we know afterwards we're not gonna feel great, but we want so bad to feel good right now. So as we move forward, we want to think about that, because the last time I did an exercise like this, I was at a retreat, and my one of my old spiritual mentors, she said, we're gonna do, and it was like this. We wrote down all the things we wanted to release, and she had a sheet of paper, and it was just like this. And I'm looking at this paper like, this is this is a lot of space, Because I try to be positive, right? And I'm just like, this is a lot of space. Like, I ain't got that much stuff to write down. I started writing, and it just, I mean, just like it probably happened for some of you in this exercise, like things just came up that I wasn't initially thinking about. And I mean, I'm writing down everything. I'm writing down anger and, just binge eating and hypersexuality. And I'm like, I filled up the paper and I started writing on the other side, y'all. So I filled the paper up, and we did an exercise where we released it. We did a fire ceremony and we released it, right? And when I tell you, when I left that spiritual retreat, like I would listen, I'm cussing less. I'm just moving different in life. Like you couldn't tell me shit. You couldn't tell me shit. And she told us, like, when you do something like this and you're being intentional about what you want to let go and what you're trying to bring in, how you're trying to show up for yourself, your life it's going to fall apart. But because I was feeling so good and I was so high off of the dopamine from, ooh, this is what I want to bring in, and I'm like no longer angry about this stuff and da 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 da, right? That dopamine hit was, I didn't think. I was like, okay, like you say that. All right, cool. Not me, right? And I get home and my best friend's noticing that I'm glowing and I'm just in this great mood and things are just, I'm just acting different. My husband, because I was married at the time, noticed the difference. And next thing, literally 1 week after I got home. And meanwhile, we had a group text. Everybody's texting and they talk, people lost their jobs, careers, don't know how they pay it, like things is happening. And meanwhile, I'm like, I'm not even texting and engaging much because I'm just like, life is good. Like, I'm doing good. And 1 week later, my marriage started. I mean, when I tell you, it just like I called her and I was like, what the fuck? Like I'm bawling on the phone. And she was just like, Kalisha, she said, what did you write down on your paper? And I was like, I mean, I wrote stuff, but like not my marriage, just not my livelihood, And she was like, but what did you write? And at that point, I'm just kind of annoyed because I'm like, this is not what I'm asking you. Like, what are we doing? I started telling her the things that I wrote down. And she took a second to pause, of course, probably for dramatic effect, but she was like, did you happen to think that maybe the things that you wrote down, even though you didn't write down your marriage, it was tied to your marriage? The depression, the anxiety, the overthinking, just panic attacks, like all these things could have been tied to your relationship. And I was just like, well, damn. And it's not many times in my life that I've been speechless, but in that moment, I was. And I think a lot of us don't have the expectation for life to fall apart for us to rebuild. And in reality, in hindsight, my life wasn't falling apart, right? Like things were being removed to make space for what was meant to be there. Sorry, y'all. I'll be going off on a tangent. Y'all gotta stop me.
No, enjoying.
Right.
Talk that talk, boy. You going off right now.
Yeah.
Thanks. That's powerful. That's
Real good
Yeah.
power.
I think
So
that.
I mean,
Oh,
oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, I don't. I done said enough. I just didn't think nobody had nothing to follow. So.
You said a lot of powerful things, and honestly, it's like you really. First off, the name of this podcast it speaks highly. Trigger warning. It's definitely a trigger warning. Man, everything that we've talked about so far has been just it's amazing, and I'm glad that there's this space like this that allows us to really speak on these things because in order for us to heal from these things have to be spoken about. Sometimes it's an uncomfortable conversation to have, but it's the necessary conversation to have in order for us to really heal and grow and evolve into the beings that we desire to be. And I think that the things that we feel and experience and the things that we want to release, I don't think we release them, but they don't truly release us, right? We release them, but they don't truly release us. And so as we're releasing, I feel like it's our job to instill the right tools and the right spiritual techniques in order for us to overcome these things whenever they show their face again. Like Kalisha, what you do with the shadow work is so important because you're equipping people to not only release, but to like really truly combat the thing that they're fighting, right? Because it's gonna be a battle, especially when you're trying to strive for a greater life or you're trying to do better and move past the things and the hurts and the traumas. They're always going to rear their head because in some way, shape, or form, something's going to trigger you and it's going to pull you back into the moment when that thing hurt you. So being equipped with the right tools is so important throughout this journey because the things that we go through, I feel like we're going to continue to go through them, but we're going to have a different level of discernment. We're going to be able to recognize the things that we're going through, and we're going to be able to overcome those things better. Like for me, growing up, I had two older sisters, but it always felt like it was just me because I was the youngest, and everybody else was pretty much like grown for the most part out of the house one way or another. So in a sense, I kind of raised myself. Like my dad, he was kind of in and out for the most part. Like he was there, but he had his own issues to deal with. But I didn't know that at the time. And my mom, who was just trying to keep herself together at the same time, trying to make sure that I was doing good in school, getting an education and working and things of that nature. It kind of left a void in me because I didn't have a solid foundation or understanding of who I was or what it is that I wanted to do. So I just went out and I was just doing shit. I was just getting into trouble, doing things that were really unnecessary. And it put me in a position to where my mom just had to keep me out because it was just like, you're doing too much and you're not listening. So, you got to go. You got to go because if you don't want to listen to what I got to say, then you just have to go. And that was probably the hardest thing she ever had to do and the toughest thing that I've ever experienced because, I mean, just being kicked out with nowhere to go, it's like, shit, what do I do now? Like, I don't have an idea of what I want to do with my life. And I don't know what direction I want to take. So, moving in with my dad, going through the struggles that we went through really helped to lay down the foundation for me, to kind of put me on the path that I'm on now because all my life was spent experiencing things that I didn't want because I knew what I didn't want, but I didn't know what I truly want. So it's like, okay, you don't want this. So now what do you want? It's like, well, I want to live a better life. I don't want to struggle all the time. I don't want to, I want to be able to just wake up and like have a roof over my head that isn't caving in, so to speak. And so it put me on this path of this self-development because one of my earlier mentors taught me that everything happens internally and you never allow external conditions to dictate your internal conditioning. So putting me on that path kind of led me to like self-development and a level of understanding and forgiveness. Forgiveness for myself and my own ignorance and forgiveness for my parents because the one thing I understood was they didn't have the emotional capacity for me because they didn't have the emotional capacity for themselves. So if there was anything ever going on with me that I didn't understand and I was trying to get understanding from them, they didn't have the time because nobody ever gave them the time because they was always stuck in survival mode, trying to make sure that there was a roof and food and clothes and shelter and things of that nature. And so it kind of led me down this path to where now I'm like, I now understand why people are the way they are, or why people do certain things that they do, and why we ourselves like do the things that we do. Because everything is just an extension of the roots that were planted in us long ago. So that's all. I'll just share that.
Yeah, that's so true.
That was deep,
So,
but real.
yeah. I mean, I really appreciate you guys with this space because sometimes we get used to being very surface level, with things. And one thing I love about doing these live episodes is we tend to go deeper. And I think it's necessary again because most of the time we emotionally bypass because like I always got something else to do, like that's more important, or someone else to help, or whatever the case may be. And a lot of times it's a crutch and it's avoidance and it's, an excuse to not feel, And I'm not gonna lie, even with this, when I first started writing, I was very surface level with things. Even as a shadow work coach, like I was just like, what am I gonna release? Like, did not expect to. So it's important to have these types of spaces. So I mean, and Dee, she already put it in the chat. This is our first season. And of course, like we said, this is going to be the last episode of the season, but we're still, uploading episodes and everything. So we would love, because this is how I feel like there's so many people that need spaces like this that don't have it, and it's so important. So what we would love, if you again feel called to, is to like, subscribe, follow the podcast, and leave a review for the podcast, because that's how more visibility happens. That's how we get seen, with the podcast. And I mean, my passion and purpose is to help other people to shift, to release these like limiting beliefs that we have so that we can show up fully as our authentic selves. And that's why we started this. I mean, and we didn't even think it was going to have the impact, but like it has been so beautiful this season to see and hear you guys' stories, and just how like a lot of us are so connected despite different beliefs and different backgrounds, different cultures, different colors, different, like, we are so connected. We all just want to connect. We want to feel loved. We want to be seen and heard. That's it. Like, ultimately, we just have different ways of going about it, you know?
You know what I like
So,
about this?
yeah.
Uh, well, I like this. I like the space that y'all have created because you're creating victors. Like you're bringing people out of that victim mentality, and you're creating victorious people. Because a lot of us, a lot of things stem from not having a win in life. I feel like, and this right here is considered a win. So no matter what happens, like just showing up here, I feel like is the ultimate win because you know that when you're coming here to release, and you're coming here to express in a way that you typically don't get to express, because I feel like expression is the greatest form of creation, and it's the greatest form of therapy too, because it allows you to open up space for more things to come into your life. And this space is something that is truly phenomenal and something that is truly needed in our communities, because we need more ways of expressing ourselves. We need more ways to open up space for the things that we truly desire in our lives. Because we, like you said before, like we want these things and we want to create these lives for ourselves, but we can't because of the blockages that we have within us. And part of the blockages stem from not being able to fully express ourselves in the proper way, which allows us to release. So, like, I'm
Yeah.
truly thankful and grateful for spaces like this. And I hope it continues to grow and prosper because it's important, it's needed, and it's necessary.
Yeah. Well, I certainly appreciate the feedback, and it just really
Mhm.
validates, our purpose with this. So, honestly, like, I'm so grateful. Whether it's, one person that shows up, 20 people, like, y'all are still taking the time, because I know life is life. And like, Portugal, you in the hospital right now. Like, I get it. Like, but you're still here.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to share. Like, I appreciate everybody as well and the space. And when we spoke before, my whole thing was I wanted the community. And the reason why I wanted community more so is because of the fact that I did want to allow myself to step into more of um just being able to be who I am now at this space. And just like I said before previously, just being afraid and like, with everyone, sharing maybe some things about just childhood and molestations and things like that. Like I've been through things like that. It showed up in my adulthood. It showed up in my children's lives, just with the relationships and just the way that I didn't love myself inside. No one ever saw or knew or anything, but I'm sure it showed up in different ways that I was not aware of at that time. So just seeing us get through that point in life, and then okay, I'm choosing to just move into a different space of, more spiritual space within myself, and just allow me to be that and holding that space. So it's like, okay, I lost everything, pretty much by choice, but it was what I was moving forward. So to actually come into, like you say, when you ask for something and this is what you put down, this is what you're saying you're doing, I've actually put that out there. Then it was like, okay, like we were literally transitioning out of the country again. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I did ask for, okay, well, let me know what my exact purpose is. Let me actually do just that. on top of, because I want to grow, I want to excel, and I want to be what I'm here for. Like it fulfills my heart to just help someone, just be there for someone, just to show them who they are. So with my son's situation, it's like, are you sure this is for real? Like, are you like, okay, this is a major, like just a major thing? Because like you said, just even being here previously, just like I said, the mom that I used to be, I ain't got time. I'm trying to take care of my baby. I'm not really, doing, anything outside of that space. But for me to show up, like I say, for me, because as you know, this is something that I've asked for. So that's what I mean by just allowing it to be more into just being, what I'm supposed to be or who I am. And I know it's ultimately and always growing and expanding, but just allowing that expansion to be a part of my life is just it's just different. But I appreciate y'all so much.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And I definitely don't want to hold y'all. I just want you guys to be in a space of just allowing, like Portugal said, to allow however it flows out of you, you know, utilize different tools, and I know all of you guys know us personally in different ways. So, but there's so many things that you can utilize to release, right? Like, of course, we have journaling, like that was what we just did. You can do it in meditations, and meditation is not always just literally right? Like doing, like you can meditate as you're washing dishes, you can meditate while you drive. Like it can be, even journaling, it can be different ways. It doesn't have to be with the pen and paper. I sometimes do like a video and it's a journal, or I'll do just the audio. I like to even do journaling prompts where I write from different perspectives. So I allow myself to be in that like victim mindset, and I, write from my inner critic, like, bitch, get your life together, right? Like, but then also I shift and I write from a more empowered space too. That is a form of releasing. So utilize tools that you have, whether you do Reiki, Dee, she's a she does Reiki. And whatever you need to do, utilize that so that you can, because we can't do this by ourselves. It's about community. And that is why, yes, that's why we're here. So any last thoughts that anybody had? I want one takeaway. What's a takeaway you have? And it could be from this episode or from, if you've been on previous episodes.
For me, it's just to learn to love and forgive yourself. Because regardless of your previous situation or history or whatever, you went through it so that God could bring you to this point. Because you have to go through it to really get the lesson. And like God said, if he brings you to it, he'll bring you through it.
Yeah. Anybody else? Any other takeaways? And thank you, Amber.
Just keep releasing so you can keep moving forward.
Make space.
I would say my takeaway is release and replace. And throughout this entire episode, those words have just been like four and four minds. Release and replace and forgive too. Like forgive yourself for how you may have felt in any situation that you find yourself in. Yeah, release, place, and forgive.
What'd you say, Portugal?
Growth. Just growth.
Yeah. Well, I certainly we appreciate, me and Dee Chanel, my co-host here. I appreciate y'all for showing up. The last thing I want to leave y'all with is just shifting the perspective that even though, and I mean, what we wrote down on these papers and what we said is not everything that we need to release, right? Like as we transition, we go through new phases and we become newer versions, more healed versions of ourselves, and we discover new things we need to release. But with that shift of perspective, that we don't even have to regret. The things that we need to release, it was still a part of us becoming who we are today and us becoming who we are going to be tomorrow, our high, like closer to the higher versions of ourselves. So show yourself grace, and you know, because I know if you're like me, you're an overachiever and you're very critical of yourself. Show yourself grace in this journey, because healing is not a destination. It is a journey, and it's never ending. So that's all. That's it. That's all I got for y'all. Again, I really appreciate y'all. If y'all leave a review, like listen, that's all I want. That's all I want for Christmas. Leave me a review.
And subscribe.
That too. That too. That too. But I thank y'all, because I know it's you know, us Eastern time people. It's about to be 9 o'clock. So I want to hold y'all. Amber over here yawning.
Listen, on a work night, I live slobbering.
So I appreciate it. It's a what is it? It's a Wednesday. Like, we in the middle of the week and y'all staying up late. I appreciate y'all.
I
You
appreciate y'all. Thank y'all. Thank you so much for allowing me to be in this space with y'all too. I really do appreciate that.
Yes, gratitude. So I pray that you guys have a beautiful evening. And I'm kind of sad. I ain't gonna lie that this is the last one of the year. But we have things planned for next year, and I'm so excited. Like, it's only gonna get better.
Yep.
But in the meantime, please, like we said, like, share, subscribe, share it. You know, we are still having new episodes come out, so share it with people that you think, you know, might grow from it, might learn something, have a new perspective, and we'll go from there. But next year, we starting with a bang, okay? So, but I pray you guys this holiday season, whether you celebrate or not, that it's filled with peace and abundance. In Portugal, I pray your son have continuous healing.
Mm-hmm.
And your peace in this, you know. So absolutely. Do you got anything else?
Sending good vibes.
Yes. So if nobody else has anything, then that's it, y'all. Have a beautiful night.
All right.
Stay triggered.
Right. Stay triggered.